Good afternoon. It's been raining here in Florida, really hard raining. Now it's calmed down a little bit. You might hear a little thunder. I'm going to go back to our study of Genesis, and we were in chapter 41, and right now Joseph is talking to Pharaoh. It's a momentous time. It says, "This is the thing," verse 28 said, "This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh." So Pharaoh was being favored by God's message. "Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities, and that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine." So Joseph was advising Pharaoh. He'd just come out of prison. It is amazing, isn't it? It is amazing that the Lord's wisdom was in Joseph's mind. But it isn't amazing in the respect that he had been practicing living with the Lord, letting the Lord help him in Potiphar's house, in the jail, because he was a prosperous man, and he had been practicing letting the Lord show him what to do. You know, I've learned of a man like that. My husband, Michael, he was like that. He let the Lord show him what to do. And it was a blessing to our family, a blessing to our ministry. And Joseph was the same kind. He let the Lord show him what to do. And here he was speaking to Pharaoh, advising him what he should do about the famine that God was showing him about. And then it says, "And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants." See, God didn't give the dream to Joseph. He didn't give the dream to any of Pharaoh's advisors. He gave the dream to Pharaoh, because Pharaoh would not doubt his own self. He wouldn't doubt his own self. He was the one that would make the decisions from how he believed that the actually were dreams from God and what Joseph told him. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, "Can we find such a one as this is a man in whom the Spirit of God is?" No, you can't find one like that. Look through the land of Egypt and see if you can find anybody like Joseph. No, you're not going to find anybody like him. That's what's so wonderful. There's nobody like a man that God uses, that God counsels, that God helps, that God blesses, that God is with. And that's what Joseph was, a man like that. Can we find such a one as this is a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, "Forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art." Discreet and wise. Somebody that has such wisdom, that understands things so well. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. So here we are, coming to the place that God was showing Joseph when he had the dreams when he was a boy. Coming to that place. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, Bow the knee! And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. Wow! He deserved it, didn't he? He deserved it. And he was going to save them. He was going to save them from the famine. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paaneah. Zaphnath-Paaneah. Be hard to call him that. Might have been easier when you spoke that Egyptian language. And he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. Now, there's something in this last verse that is interesting. The daughter of Potiphera. They have a name that's almost the same. Potiphera. If you pronounce it like that, back here, Potiphera. Go back to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard. That's Potiphar. And here's the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. So now he was married. He was married to the daughter of a priest of On. I think On is a place. On is a place in Egypt. It's not a god. These priests, they were not priests of the living God. They were priests of false gods. And so Joseph was marrying the daughter of a priest, which would be the priest of one of the false gods of Egypt. On, strength, limit, or strength or light. Strength or light, it means a city of Egypt. And so it's a city of Egypt, and he was a priest of that city. And so Joseph got a wife. Her name was Asenath. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Now, he was 17 when he was taken off, 30. So he had lived in Egypt for 13 years. And he was 30 now. And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. So Joseph is going out through all the land of Egypt, and he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. For God, said he, hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. So he had those two sons, and he named them names about his life, which meant things about his life. For God said, He hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. So he had worked so hard from the time he was 17 to 30, hard as the overseer of Potiphar's house and hard as the overseer of the jail. But when he became the ruler in Egypt, he named his son Manasseh to say, I've forgotten all that toil, and I've forgotten my father's house. And then the name of the second called it Ephraim. For God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. So Ephraim meant fruitful. And let's just look back here and see exactly what they say Manasseh and Ephraim means. You know, the names in the Bible, a lot of them, it means something, what they're named. And sometimes I know that our names mean something too. I have a name that means, in Spanish, pretty faith. My name is Linda Faye, and it means pretty faith. And I know it's true. I do have pretty faith. The Lord gave it to me. Manasseh, causing to forget. Manasseh, causing to forget. And let's look at Ephraim too. You know, it ended up that these were two of the tribes of the Jews, Ephraim and Manasseh, because instead of Reuben being called the firstborn and having the double portion, Joseph did, because of what Reuben had done, lying with his wife, his daddy's wife. He didn't get to be the double portion. Joseph did, and because Joseph was the firstborn of Rachel. Okay, Ephraim, doubly fruitful. Doubly fruitful. So Manasseh means causing to forget, and Ephraim meant doubly fruitful. So, verse 53, and the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Egypt were ended. How do you think all of the people knew, all over the land, why Joseph was gathering all the corn? I believe that he told them that he would take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in 7 plenteous years. So he went all over Egypt getting Pharaoh's part, and it was 20%. If they had 100 bushels of corn, he got 20 of them as Pharaoh's part, and he gathered them up that way. And so he had corn. He left off numbering, he had so much corn. And then it says, in the 7 years were ended, and the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the dearth was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. So all over, everywhere, not just Egypt, they were not able to grow crops. Dearth. And dearth is what causes famine. They were not able to grow their crops. Perhaps it didn't rain. That's a lot of times the reason for famine, the reason that crops can't grow. So God knew that he was sending this for his reasons into the whole land. And he had already warned them, and now it started coming to pass. But in all the land of Egypt there was bread. Why? Because Joseph had gathered up all that corn. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. So this is how it happened. This is how there was bread in Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses, and sold unto the Egyptians, And the famines waxed sore in the land of Egypt. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands. Only Egypt had made provision, because the kings of the other lands, or the rulers of the other lands, didn't get a dream and didn't have Joseph. Joseph was their savior. He was the one that saved them in this famine. And all the countries came to Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn. So he was world famous man then. And he was doing his work. And his work was to help people get through the famine. I'm going to stop there. That's the last of chapter 41. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we will start chapter 42. See what happens now. Okay? God bless you.